Hey everyone, we're diving deep today, all thanks to you.
That's right.
You sent in some really cool articles and a podcast episode
Yeah.
that caught your eye,
hmm
and we thought it'd be fun to kind of go through them together.
Yeah. It's all about cybersecurity and AI.
Exactly. So we got a recent episode of the weekly Security Dossier podcast and some thought-provoking research about those, what are they called, LLMs?
LLMs, yeah. Large language
Large
models.
language models, right. Okay, so where should we start?
Well, this weekly Security Dossier episode, it talks about a pretty big breakthrough.
Okay.
The world's first common criteria certification for a post-quantum cryptography algorithm on a security controller.
Whoa, okay, that's a mouthful. Break that down for me. What does that even mean?
Okay, so imagine this. Quantum computers are getting super powerful, right?
Yeah.
And they actually have the potential to crack the encryption that we use every day
Really?
for like online banking, messaging, all sorts of things.
Wow, so everything we do online could be vulnerable.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where this new algorithm comes in. It's like next level encryption
Okay.
that can resist those quantum attacks.
So it's like a shield.
Exactly. And this certification, it's kind of like a stamp of approval
Uh-huh.
from the cybersecurity world. It's been tested rigorously, meets super high standards.
Oh, wow. So it's like getting a gold medal.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's really rare to see a device achieve the EAL6 certification.
EAL6.
Yeah, that's the level this one got.
That's impressive. So this is like a major step towards keeping our information safe in the future.
Absolutely. It's a big deal. Oh, and the podcast also mentioned ASPM.
ASPM.
Yeah. Application Security Posture Management.
I've heard that term floating around. What is that exactly?
So think of it as a central hub for managing all those potential security weaknesses in applications, especially with everything moving to the cloud.
Yeah.
Things get complex quickly. ESPM helps organizations like wrangle those risks and keep their systems secure.
So it's like a security guard
Yeah.
for all your applications.
Yeah, very vigilant security guard. And with cyber threats getting more and more sophisticated, you really need ASPM to stay ahead of the game.
That makes sense. Now, this next one is something I always find super interesting. AI predictions.
Oh yeah, the crystal ball.
Right. The podcast mentioned an analysis by Madrona Ventures looking at predictions for 2025. Get this. They used AI to analyze those predictions.
Oh wow. What did they find?
That's the interesting part. The top theme wasn't AI as a threat. It was AI as a tool.
Really? So no AI overlords taking over the world?
Not according to these predictions. It seems like we're moving towards using AI to enhance our capabilities,
Interesting.
even in cybersecurity.
I'd say-
Actually, AI is already analyzing massive amounts of data and identifying potential threats.
So it's like what we're doing now with this deep dive.
Yeah.
Sifting through all this information to find the important stuff.
Exactly. But, it's not just about AI working solo. This other article you sent from HackerOne, they emphasize human insight working with AI, especially in cybersecurity. I was just thinking about that. AI might be good at spotting patterns, but humans are still needed to interpret them.
Right, to actually understand what the data means.
Yeah, and decide what to do about it.
The article talks about AI finding those red flags,
Yeah.
but then human experts step in. They interpret the data
Right.
and come up with the strategies, make the final calls. Combining AI and human judgment is really where the power is.
Like a crime-fighting duo. So even with AI, human intelligence is still critical.
Oh, absolutely. Now, remember that research paper on LLMs and the risks? That's where things get a bit, unsettling.
Oh, yeah. Those risks. Hallucination, indirect prompt injection, and jailbreaks. Honestly, they sound straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Right. So hallucination. That's when an LLM creates information that sounds totally real, but it's actually false. Imagine an AI writing a fake news article that seems completely legit.
That's a bit scary.
Yeah,
Especially with so much information online already.
exactly. It makes it really hard to know what to trust. Then there's indirect prompt injection. Basically, someone can sneak in hidden instructions within the data given to an AI.
So the AI ends up doing things it wasn't supposed to?
Exactly. It's like planting a secret message for the AI to follow. And then we've got jailbreaks, which are ways of, tricking the AI into bypassing its safety measures.
So it's like finding a loophole in the system.
Exactly. And the AI starts generating outputs that it shouldn't. The research paper really highlights the need for human oversight to prevent these risks.
It seems like we can't just let AI run wild no matter how advanced it gets. Now, the weekly security dossier, They also recommended the International AI Safety Report. What's the gist of that one?
That report really dives deep into the rapid advancements in AI and the potential dangers that come with it.
Okay.
It talks about the whole development process of AI,
Yeah.
like from the initial training to actually using AI systems out in the real world. It also talks about the sheer amount of computing power and energy needed for these systems.
Right. We don't want to create more problems trying to solve others. Does it touch on those global inequalities we talked about?
Yes, definitely. The report points out the gap in AI research and development around the world.
Okay.
Some areas has way more resources than others. Something to be mindful of.
It sounds like there are a lot of ethical considerations here. It's not just about the technology itself, but who has access to it and
Right.
how it's used. The report stresses responsible development and managing risks
Hmm.
to make sure AI benefits all of humanity, which is a great point. It's a lot to think about, but good to be aware of, for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of things to be aware of, the podcast had another recommendation I think you'd like.
Oh, I love recommendations. What is it?
A podcast called Security Now, hosted by Steve Gibson and Leo Laporte. They covered a wide range of cybersecurity
Oh, I've
topics.
heard of that one. It's on my list.
Great. And they had a career and leadership tip of the week in that same episode that I found really interesting.
Oh, tell me about it.
They featured an article by David A. Patterson. It's called Life Lessons from the First Half Century of My Career. He shares some really great advice from his time in the computing world.
Wow, a half century. That's a long time. What kind of advice did he give?
Oh, like putting your family first, finding a career that makes you happy, valuing the people you work with over just the projects. And he talked about being open to feedback and focusing on what's truly important, not just what feels urgent.
Those are some wise words. It's easy to lose sight of that stuff when you're in the thick of it.
It's a good reminder for all of us. It's been a pretty interesting deep dive so far. We've covered so much ground already.
I know, right? Quantum computing, AI ethics, career advice. It's amazing how connected it all is. I'm definitely feeling more informed now and even more curious.
Me too. And we're just getting started. Stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive where we'll keep exploring these amazing topics.
We'll be back soon to delve even deeper. See you then.
See ya. Welcome back. It's amazing how cybersecurity and AI, they used to be kind of separate, but now they're totally intertwined.
Right. It's like they can't exist without each other. We were talking about how AI is a powerful tool for cybersecurity,
Yeah.
but it seems like all these AI advancements, they're also creating brand new security
Oh,
challenges.
God. Remember those risks with LLMs that we talked about?
Mm.
Hallucination and all those.
Yeah.
Those could be exploited.
So AI is a double-edged sword when it comes to cybersecurity.
Exactly. That's why responsible AI development is so important. It can't just be about making the tech better. It has to be about using it the right way.
Right. It's like any powerful tool could be used for good or for bad, right?
Exactly. And the stakes are even higher with AI. It could change everything.
Okay, so how do we even make sure that AI is developed responsibly? Is it just about more rules?
Well, rules are important,
Yeah.
but it's more about the whole culture of AI development.
Okay.
Like the people building it, the companies, they need to be thinking about ethics from the very beginning.
So it's about responsibility, not just regulations.
Right. It's about the people behind the tech, thinking about the consequences, putting safety and ethics first.
That makes sense. And it's probably not just tech people who need to be involved in that conversation, right? I mean, you'd need ethicists, policymakers, maybe even the public.
You nailed it. This is a big, complicated issue.
Yeah.
We need people from all sorts of backgrounds to figure it out. We need to make sure that AI is good for everyone.
For all of humanity, yeah. That makes me think about that post-quantum cryptography breakthrough we were talking about. How is that going to change things for the average person?
Most people don't even realize they're using encryption every day.
Right.
Like every time you do online banking or send an email,
Yeah.
all of that is protected.
So if those super powerful quantum computers can actually break our encryption,
Yeah.
that's a huge problem.
Oh, a huge problem. Think about it. Hackers could just steal your identity, get into government systems. It would be chaos. That's why post-quantum cryptography is such a game changer. It's like a shield for the future.
So it's not just data protection, it's like national security.
Exactly. Keeping everyone safe. Okay, what about the role of AI in cybersecurity specifically? How do you see that evolving over the next few years?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think AI will play an even bigger role in stopping threats
Okay.
because it can look at all this data much faster than a human and find those tiny little clues.
Like a superpowered security guard.
Exactly. And it can do those boring security tasks. So humans can focus on the really complex stuff.
So AI can make cybersecurity more efficient.
Exactly. But remember, it's still just a tool, right? It needs the right data and the right people using it.
Which brings us back to those ethical considerations.
Yes. As AI gets smarter, we got to make sure it's used for good.
Earlier, we were talking about ASPM, Application Security Posture Management. Where does that fit into all of this?
Oh, ASPM. Super important. Companies are using more and more cloud stuff, more apps than ever.
Yeah.
ASPM helps them keep track of all those potential security problems across all those applications.
So it's like a checkup for your apps.
Right, to make sure everything's secure. And it ties into that whole DevSecOps thing where you're thinking about security right from the start.
So baking security into the design, not just fixing it later.
Exactly. ASPM gives developers all those insights they need to catch those problems early on. Phew, it's a lot to think about, isn't it?
Cybersecurity is getting really complex, so many moving parts.
It is, but that's what makes it exciting. It's always changing, always something new.
That's what we love about the deep dive, right? Exploring new ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, something that really stuck with me is that career advice from David A. Patterson.
Yeah.
Putting your family first, finding a career that makes you happy, all that. Those are things everyone should think about.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in work and forget what matters.
And his advice on feedback and focusing on the important stuff, not just the urgent stuff, that's great advice for any job, really.
Yeah.
What's cool about cybersecurity and AI is that they're always changing.
I know, right?
It can feel like you're always playing catch up.
But it's also an amazing opportunity to be at the forefront of all this new stuff.
We're shaping the future.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners? What should they be thinking about as they use all this technology?
It's all about responsibility, I think.
Yeah?
Technology is powerful, can be used for good or bad. We need to be informed to understand what we're using, and make sure we're pushing for ethical development.
Well said. And stay curious. There's always something new to discover.
Absolutely. We're all lifelong learners here. We'll be back soon for part 3 of this deep dive. We'll wrap things up and dive into some even bigger questions about the future.
Can't wait.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive. Wow, it's been a journey, right? Cybersecurity and AI.
It has. Unpacking all these complicated ideas, it's really fascinating.
So much to think about. We talked about how important that post-quantum cryptography is for the future, right? And how powerful AI can be, if we use it for good.
Right, right.
But then, of course, AI is creating new security challenges too, especially those LLM risks.
Yeah, those are a big deal.
And then we've got ASPM, making sure all those apps are secure.
So many things to keep track of. What really stands out to you from all of this?
I keep thinking about the human element in all of this. It's not just about the technology itself, right? It's about us, how we use it.
Yeah, I agree. Even the most advanced tech, it's still a reflection of, what we want.
Our values, right?
But
You can make the best AI and the strongest security, but it's up to us to use it ethically.
it all comes back to choices, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of that career advice we talked about.
From David Patterson.
Yeah. Putting family first, finding work that makes you happy, those are important for everyone, not just tech people.
I agree. It's easy to forget those things,
Yeah, absolutely. Technology is a tool, right? It should be making life better, not just, more complicated.
So here's a question for you, our listener. Thinking about everything we've discussed, AI and all its potential.
And the risks.
Yeah. What role do you think we should play in all of this? How do we shape the future of technology?
It's something to think about for sure. This stuff affects everything, our privacy, our jobs, everything.
We can't just sit back and watch it happen, right?
We have to be informed.
Yeah.
We have to speak up, make sure these technologies are used the right way.
We have the power to make a difference. This future, it's not set in stone, It's being created right now.
Let's make it a good one. Let's use these amazing tools to build a better world for everyone. If you're interested in learning more,
Yeah, check out the show notes. There's some great resources there.
they're a great starting point for your own deep dive.
It's been amazing exploring these topics with you.
I know, right?
Thanks for listening.
And keep asking questions. Keep learning. This is just the beginning.